Welcome to the Fintech Times News and Views podcast. Established in 2016, the Fintech Times is a global multimedia news outlet centered around the world's first leading fintech newspaper. We report on the latest and brightest ideas from the fintech world. Follow the conversation using hashtag TFD News and Views and follow us at the Fintech Times. Hello, and welcome back once again to the Fintech Times News and Views podcast. Tyler, Francis, how are you guys doing this week?
Hi guys. Yeah, it's great to be back with you for this podcast. It's been a very, very busy week at the Fintech Times as usual. But yeah, lots of interesting stories to discuss today and lots of good things happening in the industry. What about you, Francis?
Yeah, cheers, Tyler. Hey, Polly. It's like Tyler said, really, it's always a busy week here at the FinTech Times. Another good, fun week, albeit a short week because of obviously we had our bank holiday on Monday, but it's been very enjoyable, and I'm delighted to be here today with our very special guest.
Yes, fantastic segue. We are not alone this week. We are being joined by the wonderful Claire. Claire, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Polly. It's good to be back again.
Yes, thank you. Well, yes, a returning guest, of course, but just in case anyone didn't catch you last time, why don't you give us a little bit of an intro as to who you are and what you do?
Yes, I'm Claire Woffenden. I'm the editor at the Fintech Times, and I work across the website and the newspaper and everything else, doing the content with you guys.
Obviously, we are the absolute best team that you could possibly hope to have, I think, just...
Oh, you're all so amazing to work with. I couldn't work with
All right,
anyone
great podcast,
better.
guys. We'll see you next week.
Yeah. Anyway, but no, it's fantastic to have you here, Claire, and we're really excited to see your insights into some of the articles that we've got coming up today. I know you've brought an article yourself that we're going to discuss a little bit later, but why don't you just let us know a sneak peek into what you're going to be bringing to the table?
Yes, I'll chat about a study that I saw from Marqeta, and it was about the kind of payment problems that small businesses can have, and perhaps our buy now, pay later can help.
Amazing stuff. Well, we'll get to that next, but firstly, we're going to talk about pensions. So there's a story that came in from Penfold, who are a pension provider, and they have revealed some new data showing that Gen Z savers contribute an average of only £98.89 per month to their pension pots, which is less than half the average monthly contributions of non-Gen Z savers. So I wanted to bring this story to the table today because I thought it would be particularly interesting. I feel like pensions are quite a hot topic at the moment, especially when we start thinking about, the cost of living crisis and things like that. But also because obviously Tyler and Francis, we are also young people. We are not Gen Z, I don't think. Maybe Francis, are you a Gen Z?
When does Gen Z start?
To be honest with you, I'm really not sure. I think you might just be on the cusp.
Well, it says here aged between 8 and 23 years old, and I am 23 years old, so
There you
I
go. So
guess...
you are right on the edge. So this is particularly relevant to you.
Where's your pension, Francis?
The story really just highlights the potential challenges that younger generations face in saving for retirement, as well as some of the gaps possibly with financial education needed to understand the importance of saving for your pension at an early age. So Penfold did a huge analysis of their customer data and found that while Gen Z is actively contributing to pension pots, they are not saving enough for their future. And they found that based on their contributions, they would need to save for 59 years, meaning they wouldn't retire until they were between the ages of 77 and 85, which I don't know about you guys, but that sounds horrific, having to wait that long. But no, I mean, I'd love to get your guys' insights onto the whole pension thing, just in general, and pensions with young people. I feel like that's a really trending topic at the moment. I mean, does anyone have any particular insights they'd like to share? Francis, as our token Gen Z, why don't you go first?
Thank you. I feel honoured now. I feel special. I didn't even know I was Gen Z. Yeah, I guess it's the reality of it, really. I suppose when you're our age, you don't really think about pensions all that much. I don't think, because it does seem like a lifetime away before you're going to actually need it. And I can't remember who it was by. I was trying to find it earlier, but I remember we did an article on someone who was analysing pensions, and they were sort of explaining how, just how the vast majority of, I think it was like below 30-year-olds, just don't think about paying towards their pensions at all. And if they did, sort of the amount that they could be putting in and saving right now would be, it's like astronomical, really. I mean, I don't use that word lightly. The amount of sort of money that it would that would impact, their futures is crazy. But because we're young people, we just don't really think about it. And come to think of it, I think it might have been a topic we discussed on the podcast ages ago, months and months ago. But yeah, no, I think it is really interesting, this article that you picked out. And I think some of the stats that are so, shocking is this idea that on the current rate that things are going, we'd be working until 77 to 85. I don't know about you guys, but I plan on retiring a little bit before that. So yeah, I think it was definitely sort of like an eye opener into sort of really paying attention and I suppose taking advantage of the services that are available to us, because at the end of the day, in the modern era, there's so many digital services which are going to be out there to try and help young people like us to really take advantage of their pension. So I think it is just a thing of like, waking up and, well, there's a saying I think that's like on my head, but I can't even remember what it is right now. But it's just wake up and sort of hear the sound of the music, I suppose, or whatever that saying is, and actually pay attention to our pensions and make sure that we are, putting towards them early.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it, like you say, it's just something that you really don't think about. I think, especially when you're sort of first starting out in your career at the early world of work, having that money taken off your paycheck every month can kind of feel a bit of a drain, really, because you think, oh, that's money I could be spending now. But Claire, what do you think? Do pensions ever scare you? As the retirement age just seems to be getting older and older and older. Is that something that you worry about?
Well, I was firstly worrying what group I classed, thinking, am I close to being a boomer? But I'm not. Apparently, I'm Generation X.
I think that's a good one to be. I think you're okay.
I think the thing with pensions for me is obviously I have been around a little bit longer than you guys, so I have had company pensions. And I think what the problem can be sometimes is that nowadays you move around companies quite a lot. You get a different pension each time you go, and then you might end up like, I know I had a pension from one company that I have no idea what to do with it. I was only there with them for a few months. So I think what I thought with this survey was it was talking a lot about kind of what young people aren't doing or don't know about pensions, and perhaps less about actually how fintechs and businesses could be helping people more. And obviously we had the pensions dashboard, which has been delayed again, and that was supposed to help people be able to see all their pensions in one place and be able to access it and make it a lot more kind of user friendly and easy. So I guess on one hand, it's not surprising that people don't want to think about pensions when they're young, and lots more other things to be thinking about. But then perhaps on the other side, it should be people are making technology a lot more accessible, so pensions isn't a big scary thing that you forget about.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm really glad you brought that up, and I'm glad you brought up the pensions dashboard up because yes, I've been waiting for that one for a little bit of a while now. But I know there's quite a few fintech services out there that kind of do a very similar thing and kind of gather all your pension up in one place, which I know are particularly handy. I don't know if anyone's used one of those. Have
Yeah,
you?
I mean, I use Penfold actually now, and when I did join Penfold, they did unite all my pensions from different pots into one. So that was really handy because I literally just filled in the policy numbers, and they did it all for me.
Amazing. So it shows you what good fintech can do out there to help sort of break down the barriers, really. But I mean, Tyler, what do you think? Do you think it's a case of people aren't aware about pensions, or kind of just about pensions in general, or what do you think?
I think, first of all, this is a really, really interesting story, and it painted a really fascinating picture of people's current understandings of their pension positions. I think, personally, I'm not too worried or concerned about the data, primarily because I feel like Gen Z still have, so much of their career ahead of them that it's very difficult to forecast, in a sense, what your contributions are going to look like and how your salary is going to change. And I think it would be a little bit more concerning if it was closer towards the retirement age. I mean, we see according to Age UK, the current retirement age for, I guess, the state pension in the UK is 66 years old, and that's going to go up on the 6th of May 2026. So I think, yeah, it's sort of an argument like you can never save too much for your pension, right? But I don't know if that's on I don't know how central that is to the radar of Gen Z at the moment. And as the data points out, it really isn't a main priority at the moment. But I think there's time. I don't think anybody who's Gen Z looks at Francis. I don't think anybody who's Gen Z should be losing sleep over this. I think that much more worth their time and effort to really concern how much they're able to put into their pension with like salary increases over the course of their career, right? But obviously I think it's good to start thinking early on the flip side of the coin. I think it's good to really build a good foundation for your pension and a good sort of behavior in towards contributing towards it. So yeah, there is sort of two sides of the argument there. But in all, in essence, I think there's nothing to worry about at this point. Bit of a controversial take, but there you go.
No, I like that, and I think there is definitely something there. It's like Claire was saying before. People change jobs a lot. You're never in one place for very long. Hopefully, salaries go up and things like that. So I guess it's something that you've got to be aware of, but try not to worry about because there's enough things to worry about at the moment. But I suppose one thing to kind of note, I guess, is when it comes to pensions and stuff, I know that there seems to be quite a lot online and on like TikTok and places like that. I don't know if anyone else has seen about like how to build your pension and how to, invest in those higher risk assets to get those higher rewards back. And that does worry me slightly if people think, oh, it's fine, I won't save for my pension. I'll just bung a load of money in this stock and then have it all come crashing down. So that, I guess, is a bit of a concern and worth mentioning. But there's a lot of online resources out there, and as well as, like we're saying, some fintech. So hopefully more will pop up to help on the retirement front for everyone, I think. But no, I mean, Claire, why don't you bring in your piece? Let's hear what you've got to share with us today.
Okay, yeah. So I saw a study by Marqeta, the card issuing and payments processor, and they found that over 55% of small and medium-sized businesses have quite a lot of money owed to them by customers every month. It was between 10,000 and 75,000. And obviously, someone that's worked as a sole trader, freelancer for over a decade, I kind of connect with this story of how easy it is for you to kind of spend far too much time than is needed on kind of financial related admin and trying to kind of chase invoices and get paid, and instead of actually doing what you want to do for your business. So I did although I'm not a kind of small business, I did find it quite interesting that invoices not being paid stop businesses from growing. I think they said that 14% of businesses wait 90 days or longer for payment. Some are not being paid within 30 days, which can lead to kind of severe liquidity and cash flow concerns. And they were talking more about perhaps people should be thinking more about buy now, pay later, a bit like, obviously it's very popular in consumers, but should small businesses be thinking about that more as an option to offer? They can then obviously offer it themselves or even using it themselves as well to kind of support innovation, expand by getting products, by doing it that way. So I just thought it was quite an interesting topic.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I feel like I've been having a lot of conversations about buy now, pay later lately after saying that I'm not hearing anything about buy now, pay later anymore. So it's interesting that it's kind of coming back into the trend cycle again. But no, I thought this piece, Claire, was really interesting, and the research that they've done from Marqeta was also really interesting. And I really am intrigued by the idea of buy now, pay later in a business to business setting, rather than in a consumer setting, because I feel like it's not big news anymore about buy now, pay later in the consumer market, but there seems to be something here in the business sense that could really be helpful. I mean, Francis, what do you think about this article?
I think what I found really interesting was sort of almost the lack of knowledge really from businesses, and how few of them actually knew that they had a service like this available to them. For example, the article suggests that 43% of SMB surveyed were unaware of the option of using a service like buy now, pay later. And, a lack of awareness also proved to be the most common barrier to BNPL take up. And I think those things are really so shocking when you really hear about, the boom and sort of the adoption of BNPL. And we hear about it a lot, obviously, at the Fintech Times in in our line of work. But I really feel like a lot of people in the day-to-day public have started to hear about BNPL. I mean, asking around my friends, I know they've heard of it, and they're not financial experts or techie experts by any means. I'd say they're sort of your average Joes of the world. And I don't know, I thought it was really interesting just to see how, few people were aware of the options available to them. And the survey found what people would look to spend the money on if they had it. And a lot of them say, we would be reinvesting in the company, we would be expanding our teams and stuff like that. These are crucial things to for the success of a business. And the fact that these things are being held back, it really goes to show the importance of a service like BNPL and the impact it could have. And yeah, I just think it is a really, really sort of like eye-opening article, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, and I think it's just a really interesting concept, I guess. It's taking the idea of what we know as buy now pay later, but applying it in a whole new kind of setting with small businesses. I guess my only concern is when thinking about this is that will small businesses receive the negatives of buy now pay later as well? Because obviously we've heard a lot previously about how buy now pay later services can be not great if you don't use them correctly. If you're not paying back on time, that's when you can start to see some real negatives. So I would worry that small businesses would, be purchasing things with buy now pay later, and then when it comes to pay later, maybe they still don't have the cash flow if people still aren't paying their invoices or paying them on time. So that, I guess, is my worry. But as with any financial product or service, it's all about using it correctly, right? But Tyler, what are your thoughts on this? Let's weigh in you.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, Polly. There are a lot of negatives to buy now, pay later, a lot of which we've examined through our work at the Fintech Times and through this podcast, especially in the current climate when businesses are A, facing cash flow issues, and B, struggling to find third-party loans that are available to them. I do think that buy now, pay later is A, applicable to their business needs for what they to get the cash flow going again, but also B, to be able to offer it to their customers to receive payments in a more timely and sort of more custom manner, right? But I don't know. For me, I think this sort of feels like we're fighting fire with fire a little bit. I think it would be maybe I think it would maybe be better to first address why these payments are late, and maybe how businesses can explore like stipulations in their agreements that would ensure that the cash would arrive on time. I think that this is a good solution, but I don't think it should be the first point of call for businesses. Um, but saying that, yeah, I think in this scenario, as mentioned in the article, it does pose some serious benefits that definitely shouldn't be overlooked by businesses. So, go for buy now, pay later. Maybe we should start a buy now, pay later. I think we've talked so much about it that yeah, it's what our fans demand. But yeah, I like this article.
Fintech now, times later.
Fintech. What did we call it in our April Fool's one last year?
You get nada.
You get nada.
You get
That's a
nada,
deep
that
dive.
was
If
it.
anyone wants to go and see our April Fool's joke from 2022. But anyway, I mean, just to close out, Claire, did you have any final thoughts since you brought this to the table? Anything from the discussion?
I think it was what Tyler just said. Probably I can see it fitting in if they make it as part of their payments journey, whether it's embedding, especially say if they've got a small business sells a large expensive product, if they were offering, even if it was paid free or doing it that way, it might mean that they get to sell more products, which means that they get more money as well quicker. So yeah, I think that's probably the way to go forward.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for bringing that to the table, Claire. That was a really interesting article. If you want to hear any more about any of the articles that we have spoke about today, head on over to fintechtimes.com where there's plenty more news and insights on there. But that does bring us to the end of our discussion, and we're going to go straight on to grilling our guests because I'm afraid it is time for our quirky question round, name to be confirmed. But Claire, are you ready to be what's the word? I've used grilled already. Are you ready to
Humiliated. Nothing can get better than my question last time. Everyone has talked to me about what I would do on a deserted island. So
Well, I'm sure we could do that again. So, I mean, Claire, if you're ready, we'll just kick right off. So, I mean, number one, snog, marry, avoid, crypto, contactless, or cash.
I would marry contactless, snog cash, avoid crypto.
Ooh, controversial to our crypto lovers on the podcast.
That is controversial. I will agree.
The second question is, what's the most important part of a full English breakfast that isn't necessarily your favorite part?
I feel like I know whatever I'm going to say on here. It's not going to go down well with Francis. I'm tempted to say a cup of tea, but that's more an accompaniment, I know. So for me, I would say the egg, because whether it's fried, scrambled, poached, it kind of fits in with everything else lovely.
It's got to be fried, though. I don't feel
Oh yeah, this is what I
you
was going to
can't have
say.
a healthy full English. I don't think it's got to be fried.
I will allow a full English, or I will allow that answer if it's a fried egg. Any other egg, I think, is wrong.
I'm leaving the podcast. Oh my god, I hate fried.
What eggs do you have with your full English
I always
breakfast,
have
Tyler?
them scrambled, always, or poached. Poached, if they
I'm
have
sorry.
the technology.
We are going to have to agree to disagree on that one. Just for the record, though, the correct answer there is baked beans. I just want everyone to know that baked beans is the correct answer. It is the most important part. But before I digress into this, because believe you me, I could. Claire, what is your favourite tech? Paytech or RegTech?
Ooh. I'd probably say pay tech, just because of all the different ways we can now make payments and manage our finances quickly and easily. Although I could combine the two, make it pirate tech, but no, that would be
I like that. I was going to say RegTech gets no love, but
it's quite a good
with some pirate tech.
swashbuckling idea there.
God.
Amazing. What's your favorite movie or TV show? Nice and easy.
Movie is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, because I love Paul Newman and I just think it's a great film.
That's a very good answer. I love that.
Is there any fintech that you use in your everyday life?
Okay, lots I would say, but definitely digital wallets is something that I would say I use my Google wallet for multiple reasons. Not just, it's got my bank card stored in there for kind of phone payments, but it's also got my Leeds United season ticket for accessing through. That's now on a wallet. And train tickets as well. They're all get stored on there. So it's actually something I use Google Wallet quite a lot. I also
Do you
use
want easy access
what easy access to Leeds.
to Leeds? Are you sure you want to be seeing that easily right now?
Oh, I'll still be there when we're back in League One, don't worry.
Well, our penultimate question is possibly the most fun of all. Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
I think, was it a horse-sized duck? Definitely. I
A
love
horse-sized duck.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of ducks, so
But
I
would you win
just,
that fight, though?
I would just go straight for a cuddle. He wouldn't have a chance.
So, Claire, finally, what's the most interesting thing you've learned about fintech recently?
Literally just before we came on this, I was reading some research from Trust Payments, and they were saying that 9 out of 10 British people receive a scam text or email from people trying to get them to give their bank details or payments, which is quite a lot of people really trying to get, I know you shouldn't give payment details to people you don't trust, but I know they get smarter sometimes when people go, hi, this is your mum's new number, can you send me over your bank details? They do look quite convincing, so I think that's quite a scary thing to have learned just now.
No, definitely. My grandparents have been victim to some of those before, really obvious ones as well that are really obvious scams, but because they're maybe a little bit older, they have very much fallen victim to them, which is quite a scary concept. But anyway, that does lead us very nicely on to what I learned this week. So Claire, you've shared yours, but each week we like to share just something that we've learned from the fintech industry. Since so much news and information crosses our desks, we thought it'd be fun to share that with you all. So Francis, what did you learn this week?
Well, we spoke about Paytech and RegTech with Claire, but one of the techs that we didn't speak about was InsurTech. And recently, I found out that the US InsurTechs have taken a lead compared to their UK counterparts, as the insurtech landscape is set to experience a significant shift after the FCA recently imposed new operational resilience guidelines on UK insurers, which will mean over the next 2 years, 42% of UK firms plan to streamline their financial operations as a priority. And yeah, no, I just found it quite interesting that US is technically ahead.
Amazing stuff. Tyler, what did you learn this week?
Mine is quite similar to Claire's this week. I am working on a story about the Home Office, who has just introduced new measures that will make it easier to prosecute organizations where their employees commit fraud for the organization's benefit. And the consequence of this will be an unlimited fine. So, organizations have to present they have the measures in place to prevent this from happening and to showcase that it's actually not happening for their benefit if it does happen. So yeah, it's good to see that happening. What about you, Polly?
Amazing stuff. Thank you, Tyler. And I learned this week that Starling Bank are going to be partnering with the National Trust, sponsoring their nationwide Summer of Play program. And I just thought that was quite nice. I love the National Trust. There's nothing I love more than spending a Saturday walking a dog around a National Trust property. And, you know, I also bank with Starling, so I'm hoping that'll do me some good there. But anyway, just a nice little simple, nice one to end on. But anyway, that does bring us to the end of our podcast this week. Claire, thank you so much for joining us once again. Hopefully, you've enjoyed yourself and enjoyed the discussion that we've had.
Yes, thank you for having me again. I've really enjoyed chatting with you all.
Amazing stuff. Well, Francis, Tyler, thank you as well once again for some top-notch chat about fintech. And I hope to catch you on the next one.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you next week.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. See you guys.
Thanks for listening to the Fintech Times News and Views podcast. Don't miss next week's episode and continue the conversation using hashtag TFT News and Views and follow us at the Fintech Times.